So, welcome everyone. Um, I have the sniffles from allergy, so please excuse me. Tonight is the last talk of a series on the Buddhist liturgy, the one that we use. And the series has lasted for way too long, close to 2 years maybe. We started with the Heart Sutra, and then we moved on to the significance of Mahaprajna Paramita, wisdom teachings. 10 vows and practices of Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, 3 refuges, 4 great vows, and tonight, transfer of merit. I've already spoke about the significance of the merit in the 10th vow and practice of Samantabhadra, transfer merit to all others. And all these teachings are online. You can check it out there. But in summary, I would just say that this notion of merit, I don't know how it is in the Christian Judeo tradition or other spiritual traditions, but at least in the Buddhist context, is grounded in the notion of karma. So, through our actions of body, speech, and mind, we shape our reality and we shape our choices. So, merit, for a lack of better term for it. So, in the English language, Buddhists borrow this notion of merit, pre-existing term, Western tradition. In the Sanskrit, is either guna or punya. It's grounded to this notion of karma that through our body, speech, and mind, we engage in various actions and deeds, and we reciprocally will receive the effects of those actions. So, merit refers to the positive actions that we engage in, wholesome actions that we engage in, and that will shape our world, shape our experiences, providing the ground to cultivate, for the Buddhist, freedom, liberation, and the Bodhisattva path. I've spoken extensively about the Bodhisattva path, so I'm not going to repeat it here. Basically, altruistic practices that's grounded on the recognition that all beings and everything are interconnected. So the way we are, everything that we possess, is to the benefit of other people. So we're intimately connected on multiple levels, our existence. So merit is an important element that provide the ground through which we can grow and nourish our liberation, our practices for liberation, and for the Bodhisattva practice. Right? So that's one kind of standard understanding. Another understanding is that from the Chan perspective, whether it is karma or merit. Beyond the fact that they're bound to karma, it's bound to karma. From the Chan perspective, because it's bound to karma, it's bound to also self, the sense of self. And because of that, it's kind of bound to samsara. Right? So there's a fun story. Supposedly, when Bodhidharma, 28th generation descendant from Shakyamuni Buddha, came from India to China, and becoming later on the first ancestral master of the Chan tradition. So he came around 5th, 6th century. Buddhism came to China already 1st century. So basically 500 years of flourishing. Numerous temples, numerous ecclesiastic tradition, monastics and so on, already in place. And 5th century, let's say 5th century, 6th century, India have already witnessed the emergence of the Mahayana tradition, early Buddhist tradition, the Mahayana Buddhist tradition, the emptiness school, the Madhyamika tradition, the Yogacara, all of that is already in place. So hundreds of texts have been translated into Chinese already by that time. And in China, 5th, 6th century was a period of what I call doctrinal classification. So Buddhism in India has already been developing, continuously flourishing, right? And it's ongoing. So all the new text, the new translation, the new text are kind of flooding into China, and it's being translated as Indian Buddhism is being developed. And on the receiving end of China, the first 500 years basically witnessed this, several phases. First one is this phase of kind of misunderstanding of the Buddhist tradition. They seeing Buddhism from the lens of Taoism, trying to understand what this tradition from the West is about. So you see that in the translation text. The terms that they use to translate liberation is the Tao. Totally wrong, but wisdom is also the Tao. The Buddha is translated as the great immortal. Totally wrong, so they're trying to understand it from the Taoist lens. And there's this great symmetry of this. In the Chinese tradition, there's already this contemplative practices indigenous to China, Taoism. So there's symmetry and kind of mutual influence happening. And this first phase of misunderstanding, slowly by 4th century, you already have really good translation to the influence of Kumarajiva. Great translation, imperially sponsored by the emperors, imperially sponsored scriptoriums, translation teams assisting these Indian, Central Asian great masters, scribes and so on, polishing the text. So from the 4th century on, with better translation, Chinese Buddhism went to this other phase of scholasticism, revisioning their previous erroneous understanding of Buddhism. With better, more accurate translation, it went to this phase of scholasticism, what Buddhism is actually teaching. It's not immortality. It's not to become a Buddha. That Buddha means the great immortal. It's just liberation. And it teaches wisdom and compassion and all these complex philosophical traditions of emptiness and consciousness only. Right? And also by that time, the teaching on Buddha nature began to flourish in India, also extending to China. By the time Bodhidharma came, Emperor Wu Di of the Liang dynasty greatly supported the Buddhist tradition, built monasteries, hosting grand feasts to support the monastic, ecclesiastic tradition. I was very proud of this. I'm getting to the point of merit. Yeah, it's a long route. So Bodhidharma comes, this great master. Already they received the news that from India, this great master is coming, he's ready to host. Summons Bodhidharma to court. And he tells Bodhidharma, great master, pay his reverence. I have personally ensured the flourishing of Buddhism, this tradition from your land. I've built so many monasteries. I have hosted, supported so many monastic traditions, granted the ordination ceremony. Now, please tell me, how much merit have I accrued? Good karma. Bodhidharma is listening to this guy, the emperor, going on and on and on about his great activities. And Bodhidharma replied, none. And then the emperor was taken aback, just confused. First of all, Bodhidharma, unlike other great Indian patriarchs and masters that come with the entourage of attendants, this guy came raggedy robed, barefoot, goes to the court, he just sees this. And his hair is grown out, full set of beard. At least the iconography has it this way. So the emperor, by that point, is just questioning whether maybe he doesn't even know the Buddhist theory of karma. Certainly doesn't look like, it looks like a vagabond. And then he asked Bodhidharma, who is it that stands before me? Bodhidharma says, don't know. And then by that time, the emperor was really frustrated, offended. And it's just like, okay, please. Attendants, please see him out. Bodhidharma felt that. Yes, in Buddhism, in China, is greatly flourishing, superficially. You have people very proudly supporting the monasteries, hoping for better reward in the afterlife, accruing merit. And there's so many temples and monasteries, but they lack this genuine understanding of this path to freedom. Merit, the notion of merit. Belongs to the workings of samsara. It's couched in karma. It's couched in the workings of causes and conditions. Even if the emperor has sponsored all these things, he's not getting his hands wet to do all those work. It depends on all the practices of all the workers, the people, all the different causes and conditions that come together. In fact, it can't be possessible, you know, because there's no one who's possessing them. But superficially, you can say, oh, this is great karma, great merit in producing all these different wonderful things. Platforms and containers for people to practice. But it's actually the work of everyone else, everything else that come together in the sentient world and also the natural world to build a monastery, to do all these things. Merit is decentered. It is always shared. It doesn't have a center point. The cause may be one person on the superficial level, but the conditions that bring that intention to fruition actually comes from everything else. And even from the perspective of that cause, well, he's the one who paid for it. Where does his money come from? Where does his wealth come from? Taxation from the people or everything else? We're back to everything else again. See? And that's the workings of samsara, you know. Everyone's seeing the world from their own perspective. From that perspective, yeah, it's possessible. It's my karma. It's my merit. This is the cesspool of samsara, the ocean of suffering. Everyone's seeing things from this myopic vision, one directional perspective that's possessible, controllable, predictable. And the agent who's ensuring things happen this way or that way. Yeah. The truth is, it's everything happens in the in between. Nothing is possessible, and that is a kind of freedom. We tend to make things into things. That's the kind of modern way of the Buddhist jargon of attachment. It's things. We make everything into a thing. You know, discrete, separate, permanent, independently existing. It's a thing. We make everything into a thing. We make ourselves into a thing, and we can praise it, be very proud of it, or we can kind of even criticize it. A lot of people criticize themselves. In any case, that's what we do. Whatever thing that we make, it's not a thing. Right? There's, there's, there's a Chan phrase. Uh, Not a single thing. Everything's enmeshed, interdependent, decentered. Everything is mutually inclusive. That goes beyond interdependent. It's actually mutually constitutive, interpenetrative. We exist because of everything else. If there's a sense of possession, if there's a sense of belonging, it's really we belong to each other, actually. You know, everyone's well-being. That's not how the world of samsara works. So, on a rudimentary level, textbook version of merit, you do something good, you get something back. Right? It's kind of a reciprocal exchange. This kind of transactional understanding. Yeah. On a deeper level, we engage in practice and we want to give back to all beings. The Bodhisattva path, give back to all beings. Because we're interconnected. Right? We recognize that interconnected. So you can say it's non-transactional. Non-transactional. Non-reciprocated. So the first level of merit is reciprocated notion. I do this, I get something back. Right? I get back so my future is better. Right? Second level, non-transactional, non-reciprocated. We're not asking for anything back. In fact, we're giving. Everything we have, everything we possess comes through the fruition of everyone else's effort. So this understanding of interconnectedness. So we're giving back the nourishment through which we have received. You know? If you're successful, that comes from the education you receive, the chances and opportunities you receive, and all those people that helped you along the way. So you recognize and you give back. Yeah. The second level. But both levels recognizes there are sentient beings to be delivered, to be saved, who are suffering, including oneself. And there are things to attain. There are things to acquire. And there are definitely things to transfer back. But the second level is already very good. Right? The first level is very self-referential. I do this, I get something back. Second level, I got this because of everyone else. I'm going to give back to them. You know. The third level is understanding that nothing to attain, nothing possessible, already free. Well, who is it? Don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Yet, at the same time, engage in the act. Not for your sake, actually not for the sake of saving sentient beings. This may sound contrary to the past 2 years of what I've been teaching on for the Bodhisattva path. But for those people who are awakened, the great Bodhisattva practitioners, there are no sentient beings to save. Right? Are they saving? Yeah, they're saving. They are engaging in interactions, what needs to be done, what can be done. But all beings already free, and they save themselves. There's no agent. I'm saving all beings. If a bodhisattva still thinks that I'm saving all beings, probably that's very limited. Right? Sentient beings save themselves. And what are sentient beings? Mirage. Like the Vimalakirti Sutra, flower in the sky, right? Manjusri, Bodhisattva, embodiment of wisdom, having this dialogue with Vimalakirti Bodhisattva. Like how should, what, chapter 5 or something? How should Bodhisattva practitioners regard sentient beings? Regard them through wisdom, the wisdom of emptiness. Just, there are no sentient beings. The metaphor is like, they're like flower in the sky. They are a mirage. And Manjushri followed up with a poignant question. Wait a minute. Bodhisattvas have this altruistic vow to save all beings. If all beings are empty, what about compassion? It says, precisely because all beings are empty, great bodhisattvas generate compassion. And Vimalakirti goes on to list 28 different kinds of compassion, right? So it is at that juncture for us practitioners, it is at that juncture of what appears to be contradiction. Empty wisdom part, yet sentient beings need to save. It's at that juncture that Bodhisattva engage in the practice. Right? Can you imagine if a Bodhisattva thinks they are real sentient beings to save? And I know you have this experience. You try to help someone and they turn around and blame you or they criticize you. How would you feel? Disappointed, right? So the teaching of emptiness, it's actually a teaching. It's not like the state of the world, ultimate truth. There is no ultimate truth in Buddhism, in Chan. It's a teaching. That means you have to practice it. That means you have to embody it. Right? If you think there are people that need help, that need saving, and you engage in practice to save them, you'll be disappointed. Yeah. Yeah. People turn around and criticize you, or they don't appreciate your help. Because if you think you are helping and there's someone to help, there's selfing and there's othering. As long as selfing and othering is involved, there's definitely attachment. So the teaching on emptiness, there's no sentient being to save. That actually incapacitates the mind of expectation, of fixation. And the teaching on precisely because of that, we need to save all beings. Right? So that kind of wisdom generates a particular type of compassion. Yeah. The compassion of non-reciprocality, compassion of selflessness, the compassion of non-othering. And yet we use our skill sets to engage. So, for example, when I teach, when I lead retreats, when people are always very appreciative, and some people are not appreciative, it's all on them. It's all on them. I say what needs to be said, share what needs to be shared, and people feel very grateful. And, oh, good. In my mind, it's you. You're the one who received the teaching a certain way. 40 people here, 40 people, different understanding. You know, why is it different understanding? Because no one is speaking. Whatever voice you hear is happening in your brain. You do realize that, right? Your brain never left the skull. Like the person that you see here, it's your simulations in your ideas. And the voices that you hear, the teachings that you hear, probably because it resonates with you already. You know, is there a person here? Maybe. You know. So I remind myself, no expectations. No expectation. So it's a teaching. Offer my life, offer my energy for the benefit of all. No one there. So the Diamond Sutra talks about no giver, for example, in the practice of giving, no giver, no receiver, right? No reciprocation, and no lifespan, which means time. Imagine if there's a giver. Definitely you want something to be reciprocated. Right? Then you back to the level of exchange again. You know. See, so we have to change the way we think about things. So from a Chan perspective, change the way we think about our relationship with one another. There is no centering, not here, not there. We mutually constitute each other. Like, I think even we breathe the same air. You know, at the same time, we offer. We offer our practice. So the transfer of merit, that's basically about the merit. I said I would just streamline it. I mean, I got into it too much. The transfer of merit verse that we have. So it goes, we pray for the flourishing of Buddha Dharma, for peace in the world, for the joy and contentment of all people, for the freedom and ease of body and mind. May sentient beings be free. May the donors fulfill their vows. These verses was something that my teacher wrote in the 70s. In the 70s. It's not a direct translation from the Chinese. Yeah, he worked it with his American students, late 70s when he came to the United States, when they first compiled the liturgy text. Because the Chinese traditional transfer of merit it's different. So this is something new. And the reason we have this kind of reason we have these verses is really my teacher training people to get out of the reciprocal thinking mind of the first level of understanding of merit to practice the second level. Right? And that is recognize everything that we have, all the benefits that we have, come from other people. So we must return, give back the nourishment that we have received. And that builds the foundation of the Bodhisattva path. The Bodhisattva path. Right? That foundation is recognize the interconnectedness of all things. So whatever we do, whatever kind of virtuous acts that we do through body, speech, and mind, we always transfer the merit back to all beings. And I don't mean coming to the center to sit, transfer merit. I mean in your daily life, the things that you do, you train yourself to always think about others. It's almost like rewiring yourself to always think about others instead of thinking about yourself. Because when you observe your mind, the way we interact with other people, the very first thing we think about is ourselves. Usually, how does this benefit me? Maybe if you have a family, for people that don't have family, it's just about themselves. If they start to have a family, like their own children, their own spouse, they think about their family. So the sense of self-referencing extends to the small family unit. But still, it's very self-referential. So the Bodhisattva practice requires us to let go of this self-referential attitude, because this ultimately is the cause of harm on a much larger scale of things. Yeah. So everyone think from that perspective. The unit of themselves, the unit of their family. If everyone thinks like that, it's going to be conflict, right? Even if you extend that, well, what about the unit of the society, the state, or Florida State versus Indiana State? Well, let's expand it to United States, America first. That's still the cause of a lot of suffering, So, because that self-referential thinking, no matter how big, how small, it always involves othering. Right? So training ourselves in all of our actions, what do others need? What can be done? What needs to be done? So in small actions that we do, living with your roommates, living with your family, your own choices, the actions of your speech, of your body, the way you think. So Bodhisattva privileges the mind, just like Chan. So start with the way we think about the way we see things, recognize the interconnectedness and transfer. So the specifics of these verses has their inner logic. So the first line is, we pray for the flourishing of Buddha Dharma. Right? Why? If you look at different world religions, on the fundamental level, they're all very good and they're all very useful. And there are different levels of their usefulness. From the Buddha Dharma's perspective, especially the Mahayana Bodhisattva path, because there's a dismantling of selfing and othering, what it privileges is this teaching of freedom for all beings, how all things are interconnected. So this type of teaching must be privileged. Must be privileged. The teaching that benefits all beings. Because if you look at Mahayana text, for example, the Lotus Sutra, the actions of the Bodhisattva are compassion. Wan Ying, Avalokiteshvara, the embodiment of compassion. That chapter 28, I think, talks about Avalokiteshvara's practice. Avalokiteshvara's practice, for the sake of all beings, if sentient beings want to be a good Brahmin, Bodhisattva would teach Brahmanical teachings. That's pretty radical. If someone to be a good fisherman, they would teach that. They would teach, it's not like Avalokiteshvara is going to convert everyone to Buddha Dharma. No, actually. You see, what is beneficial to beings, what needs to be done, they will engage with that teaching. This kind of teaching has no othering. Yeah, this teaching is good, that one is bad, so let's convert them to here. So that kind of teachings, Buddha Dharma, is the core of the Buddha Dharma teaching. See, so this kind of teaching must be privileged, must be supported. So a teaching that recognizes, that validates all traditions and all beings, then there's less likely for war and conflict. So we pray first thing for the flourishing of this kind of Buddha Dharma. If we flourish, if we privilege this kind of teaching, what happens? It's the second line. Peace in the world. That's what will happen. You see? What happens when there's peace in the world, when there are no othering? Joy and contentment of all people. You see? Then there's possibility of the fourth line, freedom and ease of body and mind. So it goes from the very large, the most crucial teaching that enables peace. Right? Enabling peace on the individual level, joy and contentment. When people are joyous and content, they will be able to find freedom and ease of body and mind. Then the fifth line, may sentient beings, through that, depart from suffering. And may the vows of the donors, which is the people that transfer the merit, recognizes this teaching, practice accordingly, may their vows to support all beings be fulfilled. So there's an inner logic to that. So tonight I spoke about 3 levels. The first level is ordinary people's level. I just think about the big honcho. I do this for me, right? Kind of exchange. Second level. And the first level has a wide range of possibilities. Right? For example, the emperor, Wu Di, right? He's done a lot. He's built a lot of temples, supported a lot. But then he reduced all that good work to me. How much merit do I get? First of all, it's the benefit of everyone, right? All those workers who are actually building the temples and all this natural resources, the trees, the earth, the sun, the water supporting, why you're reducing it to you? How much merit do you have? None. you know. So we want to get out of this thinking to the second one, which is the Bodhisattva practice. Recognize interconnection, mutual inclusivity, recognize that beings are suffering, and that we're all related. We begin to rewire the way we think, the way we see things, not from a self-referential perspective. It's very difficult. But I've been talking 2 years in this series of different approaches, of practices, right? To see in terms of what needs to be done, not from your perspective, what needs to be done, like what needs to be done and what can be done. This requires a quieting of our clutter of self-referential thinking. So conversely, what needs to be done becomes more clear. If there's a lot of clutter, that's all we see is just clutter. Quieting of this, and then conversely, things become clear. And that clutter represents symbolically what I'm talking about, self-referential thinking, preferences, and so on. And there are practices for that. Right? So when the self-referential perspectives, thinking is diminished, then what we see is the interconnectedness, the mutual inclusivity of all things. And our actions stemming from that. Privileging the interconnectedness. When we privilege that, we're privileging the core of the Buddha Dharma. Then there's peace. The sequence applies on an individual level too. If you see victim, you definitely see also culprits. And for you, it's pretty clear. That's definitely the culprit. And these are the poor victims. But actually, they're all victims, of greed, hatred, and delusion. So the culprit is not any individual. The culprit is this systems. And the systems of 3 poisons that's enabling this whole world of suffering. So what we need to dismantle is the 3 poisons. That will bring about peace. But on a conventional level, there are culprits. And there are victims. Yes. But we have to keep in mind the more expansive view as we deal with the culprit, as we deal with the respond to the victims. Right? So we don't make them into discrete, separate, unrelated things. That's just pure victim. And these are just pure culprits. It's not like that at all. We deal with them, we see how things are actually also interconnected, interrelated. That will bring about peace. Bringing about peace will bring about joy and contentment and freedom of body and mind. Yeah. So this is a kind of concluding reminder for the Bodhisattva practice to train ourselves to not think from a myopic vision of me, I, mine, but train ourselves to consider the interconnectedness of things, to recognize that everything that we have, possess, everything that we are, actually belong to everyone. You know, and act from that perspective. Not, of course, losing sight of the conventionality of things. What needs to be done still needs to be done, but in our heart, we don't harbor these strong oppositional divisions. Let me just maybe conclude here. Yeah. With that foundation, I'll just say that with that foundation, our polarized tendency of thinking, self, others, having, lacking, gaining, losing, success, failure, culprit, victim, will start to be more porous. We'll see things in a more nuanced way. And that second level of understanding of merit will build the foundation for the third, the great, great Bodhisattva practice. Developing the habit of thinking this way, interconnected way. At the same, so we still engage proactively in helping, but the benefit of the third level is it's just automatic action. Right? We're no longer thinking sentient beings to be safe. Right? So that, and yet we engage. Does that make sense? So merit has at least these three levels. Any questions? Yeah. Sage, do we have a microphone? Yeah. Yeah, push it all the way up.
Okay. I wanted to ask about the juncture that you were discussing of wisdom and compassion. Is for the third level, is the wisdom there? Does that generate the compassion? Or is it like the simultaneous like occurrence? I guess
It's grounded in wisdom. Because compassion is just the expression of wisdom. Wisdom, primary.
Okay.
So compassion is just wisdom in action, actually. Yeah.
What is the embodied sensation or experience? Because I'm assuming you've experienced this. What is that? What is that like?
That's a very abstract question because the circumstances are different.
I guess I'm curious, is it like a state of being? Is it like something like is constantly like you're just in this state, or is it?
For people who are thoroughly awakened,
Mhm.
like the Buddha and great bodhisattvas, I wouldn't know. The great bodhisattvas, Buddhas, I wouldn't know what that's like embodied. But they're just in that state. It's not like how does the embodiment feel like? I don't even think they're thinking in terms of embodiment. Like, how does my embodiment feel like?
Yeah.
Like the Buddha still had headaches. If you ask him, does your head hurts? Yes. How does that feel like?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure. I think there was just a bit of like intellectual curiosity of like, well, what is the sensation of this experience?
Yeah.
That was just definitely more of an intellect question.
Well, if you want an intellectual question, I'll give you an intellectual answer that. So it would be freedom, you know. So it'd be absence of suffering.
Mm.
And the response would be through wisdom. So the Buddha had a headache,
Mhm.
but there wouldn't be suffering. You know,
Mm.
you can have actual pain,
Yeah.
but there's no suffering. There's no mental disease, anguish, suffering. Right? So you would just respond. What needs to be done? What can be done? Yeah.
Thank you.
I can tell you that, I don't know what the permanent state is like, but the state of kind of selfless being, like you can be part of this um, scene in which people are arguing, there's bickering, there's all kind of stuff. But to you, you know exactly what's happening, but there's still peace. So your mind or mood or whatever you want to call it, it's not actually affected. So when people are maybe saying something not so pleasant to you, there's no self-referential effect of that. Do you hear what the person's saying? Clearly, very clearly. So there's not even like your neurological, let's talk about it this way, like your neurological system, right? Amygdala, perceived threat, and then cortisol starts to send out. This whole system that's based on perception. Perception is based on self-referentiality from the Buddhist perspective or critique of that. So when the self is absent, do you have a amygdala? Yeah, you got amygdala. You have all the nervous system, sympathetic, everything's fine, but it doesn't even trigger stress because there's no self-referencing, you know? So one of the things that people get caught in is self-consciousness. Right? So in the midst of all of their actions, even in dreams, there's a sense of me and there's a sense of I. There's a sense of very subtle continuum that's always present. And that is the Buddhist critique of attachment. Right? So you have all the system in place, biologically, anatomically, neurologically, but that self-referential habit continuum of grasping, that's absent. So when people are scolding you, or you see people are having an argument, it feels as if it's at peace. Like there's no triggering what's happening. You know, people are angry and they're really going at it, but they can do it to you, they can do it to others, but there's no triggering. So because of that, your response, you still have the same intellect, right? You still have your limited experiences. So when you respond and help, it's limited by that intellect. Like if you don't know physics, someone asks you a physics question, you're not going to be able to answer, right? So someone asks you something that you don't know, then you help. You wouldn't be able to help them, but it's like an automatic response, you know. So that would be like the minimum, bare minimum. Now the practice shapes that experience. It shapes the capacity of sentient beings, right? So what I mean by bare minimum is like an arhat, a liberated person. They become awakened, but their practice life have shaped them to not really be concerned about other people, right? So they only focus on dismantling greed, hatred, ignorance. That's it. Cultivating patience and compassion, you actually don't need that for liberation. But if a bodhisattva practitioner, they're shaped by their practices, the baseline is still you're not affected. But the habit force from their lifetimes of cultivation is they're going to do everything they can to help you. Right? But they're still not going to think like, oh, you are this, and I'm like this, and I'm good. But there's no selfing or doing, but that's just their response, natural response. Right? So the way that we practice kind of shapes the kind of person we will become. So we got to be careful what kind of person we want to become. You know? And there are arhats that in the Buddhist lifetime, there was this aloof, kind of not approachable, kind of distant. That's just their personality. Right? And there are arhats, like great bodhisattvas. They're very personable, very likable, and they're always helpful. Right? So that's due to their practice. Yeah. And there is a part of your question that you didn't circle back on, but you mentioned the word. That is juncture. You know, at that juncture of wisdom and compassion. But I mentioned in the talk is at that juncture of all beings are empty, and yet we save all beings. The paradox,
Yeah.
you know.
That's what I drew.
That's precisely the juncture. So we train ourselves that way. It's a method. It's meant to be that way. But there's no paradox. Offer yourself, help other people as best you can, but don't think you're a helper. Don't think you're like, oh, I'm the one who's helping them. Look, or, hey, I'm the one who helped you. We gotta give back. Did you say thanks? You know? So we just train ourselves this way. So in that way, there's no paradox. Help the best we can. It's not you that's helping. Every brain here is listening to their own version of tonight's talk. It's all on you. Nothing to do with me, actually. The way you process it, it's completely you. Right?
Is this the phrase? I guess the phrase that's coming to mind is what you've said, body like rag, mind like mirror. Is that applicable to this? Okay.
Body like mind, mind like mirrors. What some of you don't know, my teacher said to me to help, help all beings. Kind of like Bodhisattva practice. What do rags do? It's clean. The rag has no discrimination. I only clean this small part. You know, it just cleans. It cleans everything. Just utilize the body for the benefit of just cleaning the world. Mind like a mirror. You know exactly what's going on. You're not oblivious. You're not stupid. People take advantage of you. You know. But if that at that moment, if it's beneficial to them, this is what they need, you let them take advantage of you. My teacher used to say, when sometimes people take advantage of you, you tell them, I know exactly what you're doing, but I'm going to let it slide. Because I know you probably need it. Here, I'll do it for you or something. So he's clear what's happening. And at that time, if this sentient being, this person really needs it, or they need help in a certain way, you let them know and you do it.
At what point, though, does one have the discernment to say, "Oh, I know that you need this,"
Yeah.
because that still sounds like the "I'm giving you compassion" is the state of "I have compassion to give you."
Not necessarily I have compassion, nothing to do with compassion.
Okay.
It's just based on that person. It's a teaching for that person. You know?
Mm.
Yeah. The self need not be involved in that.
Okay.
It's just I know this is what you need, but you probably should find some other way to do it. You seem to be healthy. You should probably try to get a job.
Mm.
But here's some money. Immediate help.
I see.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Yeah. Online question? No?
I have a question.
Okay, please.
The three types of merit,
Yeah.
the first two uh, make sense easily. The third one, harder to make sense of.
Yeah.
How do we know? Is it just, how do we know it's not just theoretical or even, theoretical is based on something we know is true. Is it even hypothetical?
It's based on method. It's not, it could be based on Buddhist theory, but it's really a method of practice, the third one. Why? To dismantle selfing and othering. Just in case you think you're the saver and they're the poor souls that you're saving, put that down. So it's really a method. Now, are you helping? Yeah, you're helping. Are people actually being helped? They seem to be helpful, but you're not taking credit. So it dismantles this idea of possession, credit, self-referencing, or othering. So it doesn't need to make sense. Yeah, it just needs to work. You just need to work.
So realistically, all three are true.
Huh. Yeah. The first one is certainly true. Every day, everyone, that's how they live. Second one, people are more conscious, not only what they need, but they more socially engaged, what's going on around, try to help other people. And the third one is you still help other people, you know what's going on, but you don't think of yourself as a saver. And other people need to be saved. People have their own path. People have their own wisdom. It's a kind of from certain perspective, is a kind of respect for others. Yeah. So, do you know what I mean by that? It's a kind of respect for others. If you think you're the savior and other people are just receiving, that's so limited. That's so limited because other people are actually, they have their own wisdom, life experience, and they take your teachings in their own way. They're getting it. So they're actually helping themselves. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah. You know, I mean, it just so happens you all understand English. That's why you know what I'm babbling tonight. You know? So it's because you understand English in a certain way that you are hearing these words. It's all happening with you. You know? So it's a kind of respect for people. You know? The thing with reason and rational, right? The thing with that is it's based on words and language. And it's based on agency, the subjecthood, which is built into the grammar, which is built into the language. All of that is a kind of assumption. In other words, the world may not function in the way you imagine it to be. Now you are brainwashed to think in terms of subject, object. This divide. What makes you think that's a very human way of thinking? What makes you think that the world actually functions this way? The world may function in a mutually inclusive, complete interpenetration way in which there's decentering. Our linguistic brain is trained to think this way. So reason, logic requires agent, subjecthood. This is language, you know? You see? So all of us are supposed to be like stardust, isn't it? Like billions of years ago, stardust. Did the stardust think like, this is my stardust and that's your dot. Don't come into my sphere. I mean, so all things evolve in this evolutionary process or whatever you want to call it. It's evolving in a very intricate, complex way of mutually influencing each other, giving birth to new forms and so on. It's just so complicated than anything human mind can imagine. Pigeonhole, put into neat containers of this and that. That's just language. You know, so things doesn't need to make sense. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, making sense help us to navigate through the world. You know, everything has to make sense on a conventional level. But ultimately, you know, things don't need to make sense. And you all know that. You can hold contradictory ideas about yourself at the same time. Does that make sense? No. You see? So it's complicated. All right.
Thank you.
This talk on merit has morphed into all kinds of stuff. What's the takeaway? That's important. What is practicable? Watch, be careful. The ways in which we tend to think in a reciprocated exchange kind of, I scratch your back, you scratch my back. Watch this kind of tendency, because that creates chaos, not peace. A better way to see it is to see things relate to others is like a web of relationship. Web of relationship. So it becomes second nature, natural for us to give back that which we have received. We cultivate humility and gratitude. So we benefit everyone. And then a step further, if you want, just remind yourself, when you help people, they're helping themselves. At the very least, baby step. Okay. Have a good night. How many of you know Dwayne and Tina, the special guest tonight? Yeah. So, long time. Dwayne, talk about interdependence. He built this altar and he put it in the floor of the center. So, Dwayne, do you have any merit? As we walk on the floor, we think about the benefit of others, support this place.